Now, this next clip that I want to show you is absolute hilarity. So a transgender activist, a man pretending to be a woman, responds to a poll that shows that Americans overwhelmingly don't agree with men being in women's sports. And his answer to why Americans should be okay with it is just downright delusional. Watch.
Recent New York Times Ipsos poll showed only 18% of Americans support transgender women playing in women's sports. What do you say to that?
I think a lot of people don't know trans people in their everyday lives, so they don't know the ins and outs of our experiences. They often just think of us as hypothetical beings out there that are waiting to be the boogeyman in their lives. That's not true, and the Trump administration and really the conservative right have been stoking this ignorance for years, but we're not going to fall for it. I think it's also important for folks to understand that this has never really been about trans people in sports, and particularly trans women and girls in sports. This has always been about trying to erase us from society, from access to healthcare, from access to employment, education, safety, and security. But we're, again, not just going to roll over and allow this to happen. Trans folks and the folks who love us and support us and understand our brilliance are rising up.
First off, all these people are just giant narcissists. It's always me, what I want, how I feel. Accept me, celebrate me, love me, praise me. And besides that whole disgusting aspect of their movement, it's not logical nor rational and simply requires sympathy. They said, well, most Americans don't know a trans person, so if you knew a trans person, maybe you'd be more open to them competing in women's sports. It's the same kind of argument that they give for open borders. Oh, well, if you just knew one of these mothers and their kids and just how badly they wanted to come here and they just don't have a good life back in their home country, you would feel differently. Democrats made compassion and sympathy their main priority because they love to virtue signal. They love to give themselves a pat on the back for being such great, caring people. Even though this fake compassion that they try to lead with ends up causing so much harm. What about the 300,000 kids that went missing under Biden? What about the numerous women who were sexually assaulted and trafficked due to these open border policies? What about these women who literally can't compete with men and lose medals and scholarships? And just the simple satisfaction of achievement, knowing you worked hard to do something, and no matter how hard you try or work, you will not be able to beat this person because they have a biological advantage. And where it gets really repulsive is in the jail system. Under the Biden administration, jails got so woke that they would allow men to just declare that they were women and then get transferred to all-female facilities. A bombshell report came out that showed that 15% of all the women in the federal prison system are actually men. And the studies show that an overwhelming amount of women in prison have experienced some sort of sexual or physical assault by a man. So they are forcing biological women who are oftentimes victims of assault by men to be locked in a cage with criminal men.